All right, so this is the RXP X full size. Now, I have not always been a fan of SIG. Wasn't anything personal, just wasn't a huge fan. Now, what changed my mind was when I got this bad boy right here, the RXP X Carry, and that started me down the road of the X series for SIG specifically, because I still just don't like the regular grip modules from SIG. Just has something to do with how they feel in my hand. Now, all that stuff aside, this is the well over 1K follow-up for the RXP X full size. Now, I do these to give everybody a really good idea of how these are wearing in, if any issues have arisen, or those little things you learn about something as you get more intimate with it. Yeah, hashtag intimate. Because you learn little things about something as you use it, hold it, and train with it more and more. If you are looking for the full breakdown and review of this, I did that in the original video. I'll link that down below. And I also did one that goes through and explains exactly how the trigger system in the SIG works with the update stuff that's going on, because that has been a lot of controversy all over the internet. Now, you may be asking why well over 1K or 1,000 rounds, because that's just kind of like an arbitrary number that we just reach up and pull out of the air. It's because that's where a lot of people just kind of seem to have a benchmark for some reason. I don't know exactly where that came from, because in my experience, generally if something's gonna break, it generally breaks either very soon or very near the end of its lifetime. And that lifetime is going to be different depending on how you treat it, how you run it, the type of ammo that goes through it. And I'm just curious what you think. You know, when is that benchmark in rounds for you when you begin to trust something a little bit more than when it's fresh out of the box? Well, let's go ahead and get into this thing and see how it's wearing in, talk about the range footage and what my experience has been out there with the X Full, because can't lie, right up front, I kind of like the thing. Before we get into that thing, a huge shout out to my Patreons. You guys are a massive support structure for the channel, and for Shall Not Comply as well, who handles all the swag and merchandise for me. Link down below for that. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and consider turning the bell notification icons on, because I've had a bunch of people recently tell me they weren't getting notifications. You have to set that to all notifications on. Well, we are gonna go ahead and get into the RXP X Full well over 1K right now. All right, let's go ahead and get into the follow-up on the SIG P320X Full right here. So not gonna be a complete review on this. If you want a complete review on this, I will leave that link down below for you. Or if you're interested in seeing exactly how the trigger system in this fire control unit works, I did a video on that. I will leave it linked down below as well. Well, let's go ahead and talk about how this thing is wearing in. So there's no damage to the frame. Obviously there should not be unless you are really abusing it. So let's talk about upstairs here on the slide, what we got going on here. There's gonna be basic holster wear. Nothing is wearing prematurely, nothing that I would not expect coming in and out of the holster, stuff like that. Coming up onto the optics, so the Romeo 1, so the Romeo 1 Pro optics. They are not the most durable optics, but this one has been doing just fine. It's been knocked over, it's been banged around on purpose to see how it's going to react to impacts. It's held zero, it has been fine. I'm not expecting it to fail unless I do something stupid with it. Coming forward from there, the sights are great. The tritium in there is holding up well. Let's talk about the barrel in this. Take a good look across the hood right there. It's a little wet because I had to recently clean it because it's been to the range a few times. It's not wearing that bad. We'll talk a little bit about some wear points in there once we break this down, which we'll go ahead and do right now just to separate this out. As far as everything forward, the pick rail and all that, if you guys have streamlights, use a coin or something to unscrew them. Don't try using a flat screwdriver because that little notch in there is concave and it's meant to have a radiused object take it apart. So in here, the fire control unit, which is the whole section in here, comes all the way out like this. Is not having any problems or any premature wear at all. Still a little bit dirty, probably should have done a better job of cleaning it out. But nothing in here is wearing unexpectedly or prematurely. which is what we should expect. And then the same on the frame. There's nothing you can see here on the grip module that you should be worried about. I do really enjoy the factory mag wells from SIG. This is not an aftermarket one, that's the factory one. You have to have the different base plates or the big 21 rounders like this to work in it. And since I got the mag in my hand, you can see they are wearing exactly as you would expect. A little bit more wear on the front, and of course, there's going to be a little bit more wear on whichever side the magazine releases, but got a lot of exchanges in there and things are just fine. Recoil spring and guide rod, not going to be any problems there. Now let's talk about the barrel. So got a little bit of wear kind of on the upper corner right there and then the lower section right there, but everything looks good from the areas on the lugs. No real concerns there, just typical coating wear like right there. Little bit right there. So interesting little kind of wear section right there in the top, that shiny part, because it's just in that one small section, not anywhere forward. And that just may have to do with that chamfer cut. I'm gonna bring in the X Carry real quick because you'll see here, different story. So on the X Carry, the barrel hood, I mean, it got its wig pulled back. So this was in like the first maybe 50 rounds, less than 100 for sure. It peeled off that coating very, very quickly on the X Carry, which is kind of normal, but I've got far more rounds through the X Full, so I would expect to see kind of the same wear, even though that is a more compact version. But in all, it's doing just fine. You look up in the inside here, you're gonna see that exact same wear right there on the top of the slide that you would expect to see with anything, because that's where the barrel hood is coming in. But again, for the barrel not showing much wear across the top, it's kind of interesting that the inside of the slide is taking that coating wear and it's not showing up on the barrel at all, which is kind of cool because it, I guess, keeps the imperfections inside. Nothing going on in here that would concern me or that I would not expect from anything at this point. So in all, that stuff is good. Talking about the grip modules, I've tried this fire control unit in a couple of different grip modules, everything from the Wilson Combat grip module, which is absolutely an outstanding feeling grip module. It does have that integrated mag well in it as well. And then of course, what has been on my Carry version, which is the P80 grip module with that P80 mag well. Love this, great color, great texture, and a great feel to it overall. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this thing back together off camera, and then we're gonna do some trigger pulls. All right, we are back together. I will bring in my trusty Timney gauge. I always say that wrong. I always say Timney, not Timney, like it's supposed to be, and people make fun of me in the comments for it. So I'm gonna Timney my trigger away here. So the X series does have a little bit of a better trigger than the standard P320. So you have to take that into account when we are talking about an X series here. So we're gonna do 3 pulls like we always do. And I pull low, guys. I pull down here because I'm trying to get my finger as low as possible on the trigger because leverage, 5th grade, remember? FIF grade, 5th grade science, leverage, you should know that stuff. So lower you are, the better pull you get, and that has to do not only with the gauge, but also just out there in general on the range. So we're gonna get a 4-pound pull right there. That's a little bit lighter, so I'm gonna pull up a little higher on the trigger shoe because that was way, way down at the bottom. And this will also demonstrate very well what I mean by leverage. So a little bit higher there. And you can see that pulled it up, gained about 10 ounces on that one almost. So we are 4 pounds and probably 10 ounces right there almost. Okay, we will do one more. And I'm gonna go right in the middle this time. Okay, right there. Give you guys a good look. All right, so on that one, we broke just a hair over 5.5 pounds. So again, I'll do an extra one. Leverage, people. Work the leverage of your trigger to get the best pull. Somewhere low on there is gonna give you something about a 4 pound and 6 or a 4 pound and 8 pull. If you are yanking this thing way up here, you're not doing yourself any favors out there in the range. Get your finger down on that trigger shoe. All right, so let's talk about the range performance on this thing, how I feel about it now, and have any problems come up since I've been using this. Well, that's just not bad wear at all for that amount of rounds. So originally, like I said, I was not a huge fan of the P320 series. I tried out the M17 at first, and although it was good and I could run it out there, it just left me with a weird feeling. And SIGs do have a little bit higher of a bore axis, and what that means is as you grip it, the barrel and the bore is a little bit higher off your hand than some other things out there in the market. But that's largely overblown. As long as you're holding onto it and you know what you're doing with your grip, it's generally not gonna be an issue. For me, what it was just the feeling of that original P320 or M17 grip, and the way the sides and the front kind of bubbled out, and it just left a weird kind of stress ball feeling in my hand. But then when I got the RXP X Carry, that all changed. Now out there on the range, this thing absolutely performs for me. I can run this thing very fast, I can run it very accurate, and we'll talk more about the accuracy here in a second. I really like the X grip module out there, and I think that's probably one of the best feeling ones, unless you start looking into the aftermarket stuff. So I have done the Wilson Combat, the P80. You can check all that stuff out below. I do really like the P80 grip because of that very nice and very kind of more aggressive sandpaper texture. My overall experience with the P320, both the RXP Full and the RXP Carry, has been very positive at this point. Talking about the accuracy there. So this is a very forgiving setup for me for some reason. I can catch myself kind of maybe slapping the trigger a little bit, maybe a little bit of a flinch, and I still seem to be very accurate with it. Now, accuracy is dependent upon everybody and how much skills and training you have, but it seems to be that this platform is just very forgiving. For some odd reason, I don't know what it is, I can't put my finger on it. I seem to be able to make little mistakes here and there and still just be exactly where I want on target. As far as the reliability goes on this, I've only had, I think, one issue, and that was primer related, using steel cased ammo because that's what a lot of us are left with at this point, or stuff that we can get a little bit cheaper than brass case stuff because 9mm is like way up there. It's like 60 cents a round at some places, or even more depending on what type of ammo you're buying. As far as the trigger goes on this, it's not the best overall kind of feeling trigger. It's a little soft on the brake, a little soft on the reset, but nothing that you can't get used to, and it is definitely better than a lot of other striker fired stuff out there on the market. As far as any issues that I may have had with the trigger and what's gone on with SIG in the past, I have not had any problems. Again, if you want to see that full explanation of the trigger video, that is linked down below. Now for the provided optic that comes on the RXPs, the Romeo 1 Pro. It's not my favorite optic. It's been just fine. I haven't had any problems with it out there. It's held zero. It's taken a couple bangs and spills, and it's been just fine. It's got a nice larger viewing window, plenty of adjustment to get it dialed in, but it's definitely not known for being the most durable optic out there. Again though, you have to ask your question, what is your intended purpose for this thing? Are you going to carry this for work? Are you going to really treat this rough and beat it up out there at competitions? You might want to look at something different. However, a lot of people are running these now and they seem to be doing okay, but they're definitely not going to give you that rugged durability like the RMR, the Hollow Sun, or maybe some others. Now, in the end, it is all your choice. This is just a little bit of information for you to take into account now that I've got a little bit more of a higher round count through it. Now, I definitely want to know what your guys' thoughts and experiences are with the P320 or the X specifically out there. For me, it's been reliable, it's been durable, it's been very accurate, and I quite honestly did not have high expectations for it, but it has surpassed my original expectations, and I really honestly like that thing quite a bit more than several other things in my collection. Again, always your decision, and that is what I have for you guys today. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, turn those bell notification icons on. If you're interested in any of that stuff, supporting the channel in any way, all of those links for the merchandise, the Patreon, all that stuff's down below. Those are huge helps to the channel. I'd appreciate if you would consider using any of those. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about that. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. You guys get out there and have some fun. And remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you guys on the next one.